what happened was the governor invited me and all of my family, father, mother, brothers, down to the governor's mansion for dinner. And we accepted it, went down there to Frankfurt, had a great dinner. My high school coach was there, Jim Gray. When I was being recruited, I asked the question, well, how many African Americans go to UK? And I think the number that I was given was probably a little bit higher than what it actually ended up being. You know, I heard a high hundreds, you know, but when we got there, it's probably low hundreds, if that many. So yeah, it was quite a transition. He gave me the, you know, the selling point that what it would be like to really be the first, you know, African American. It would be good for, you know, African Americans to integrate the SEC. It would be good for me personally, you know, to if I was going to live in the state, what it would do for me as you know, professionally after I finished playing football. And, you know, it was just the right thing to do, you know. And just felt that I, you know, with my you know, aptitude, intelligence, football ability, that I was a person that probably could pull it off, you know. And, you know, everything went as usual, as far as I knew, until they called us all together. And I can't remember if it was actually the, you know, the end of practice time or if they cut it a little short. But they did call us all together, had us get on one knee. And at that time, they told us that, you know, Greg had been injured and had been taken to the hospital. And that's what he was. He was, you know, paralyzed from, I think they said from the nose down. So just being there in traction, laying there, unable to do anything, it was devastating. You know, I couldn't, you know, it was bad. I was glad that I was able to see him, you know, and you know, I'm thankful really for that opportunity to do that. You know, we were roommates, and then for the next, I guess 38 days when he was in the hospital, you know, paralyzed, then it was like I was all alone. It was just me. I think that, you know, looking back now, at the time I didn't really realize what was going on, but, you know, in retrospect, now today, if something happened like that, you know, we would get counselors, you know, they would come in and talk to the players. We would do this. None of that happened back then. We can't say, you know, why, what happened. He was a young man that, you know, loved the game, loved the sport, fun-loving, good guy, you know, great person. And, you know, for this to happen like that, you know, who can say? I mean, we just don't know. I don't know, you know, what happened or why it happened. Just going through it was, you know, and reliving it, you know, is tough. It really is. First thing we did, of course, was we had to go to a hotel that accommodated blacks, you know, and it was not the normal hotel that they would have normally stayed in. They had to find a different hotel, you know, because of me being there. You know, tremendous stadium, you know, big stadium. There were some bleacher seats out on the field that were wooden, kind of worn down, worn out. That's where there were some black, you know, fans were to watch the game, and you know, out of a host, I don't know if they were elsewhere in the stadium, but I just know they were there. And, you know, I thank God for that. Because being there, you know, alone, it's like God put them there, you know. The biggest thing was just, you know, having 70,000 people, I guess, in the stadium and only a handful of blacks, and me being the only one on the field. That's when the coach calls me in, tells me I missed some classes, that, you know, I need to find another way to get my meals. And, you know, I said no, that was it. It was tough. It was a tough decision on what do I do? Do I leave? Do I go ahead and leave, or do I stay? So it wasn't, that decision was probably tougher than it was deciding to come in the first place, because I really felt like that he was sincere. That Greg and I, had pretty much, the way I could see it, we had done what we could do. Greg had died, playing, breaking the color barrier to do that. I felt like I had done all I could do up to that point. And, I just felt that the commitment that the coaches were saying they were going to make, Bradshaw, that Greg, that Wilbur, and Houston and Albert could benefit from what they were saying. So even though I would not be able to take part in it, I felt like they could go on and make it, together. If Greg had lived, then I think we would have made it. I guess the reason I was pretty quiet about everything was I felt like it was, it's something that happened. It was a historical event that took place. I kind of see it a little bit differently now than I did back then. The older I get, the more amazed I am that it really even happened, that it took place, and the magnitude of what happened. To look at the SEC today, and see the teams, the Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. I mean, it's unbelievable to think Auburn, to think that, when I was there and I went there, and Greg and I, Wilbur and Houston, that was not the case. Even when I signed, I didn't know it was going to be as big as it was. I didn't know that all the newspapers in the country was going to say that the SEC has been integrated. It's just something I didn't really, I guess, relate to at that time. And to look at it now, it's much more significant now to me than it was, at that time, or even a few years ago. And you're right, to look at all the African American players that's doing that now. For me to look back and say that we were the ones that started that, it's almost unbelievable to me. And Greg, he gave his life. He loved the sport, and I'm sure that if he was here, he would not undo anything as far as him going to UK. And I'm glad that I went. I'm glad that I had that opportunity to do that, and I'm glad that we had an opportunity to open the door, for a lot of other players. Like I said, just a blessing. I'm thankful to God, that He gave me that opportunity, gave me the talent, first of all, and gave me the ability that He gave, because it wasn't me. I know that, anything that I had or whatever I had was for a purpose, and I didn't know He was going to use me like this for that purpose, but He did, and I'm thankful for that, yeah.